Now, Spiritual Chop is no more, or what's going on, NLE? Gotta talk about NLE Choppa, man, because he's actually back to his old self, or should I say, back to himself. So, yeah. Let's talk about it. Now, you know how NLE Choppa went through a spiritual phase a couple months back? I made multiple videos on this. My perspective on this since day one was NLE Choppa doing a complete 80 would somehow affect his popularity, which it did. NLE, of course, dropped a spiritual project, From Dark to Light. I liked a couple songs on it, but overall, since his bread and butter was that Choppa flow sound, yeah, it obviously didn't connect with his entire fan base. He wasn't really climbing and pushing his wave forward, making that kind of music, because that's not what he initially blew up off of. So it was a pretty risky move from the get-go, but NLE Choppa kept going. He started his own health and wellness site. He kept preaching to the fans through social media. At the end of March though, NLE Choppa got arrested for multiple offenses, which consisted of burglary, drug, and gun charges. This story obviously went viral because what happened is Spiritual Chop. Recently, NLE Choppa was also involved in a fight that went viral on social media. Not gonna play that here, but it's out there. And also, the most important part of this whole thing, the music he's dropping now. He's really back to that Choppa flow sound-wise, topic-wise. The spiritual bars have clearly taken a back seat, which I'm personally not surprised about. I knew that this was eventually gonna be the outcome at the end, because again, don't forget that NLE Choppa did a complete 180, man, so he decided to leave, you know, his, figuratively speaking, his bread and butter behind, aka what people really knew him for when he blew up. The majority of his audience are fans of him because of what he gave them from the start, right? That's obvious. So abandoning that for a period of time was never a good move from a career perspective. I don't really think NLE Choppa can be half in, half out. I think whatever he does, if he now decides to go back to that spiritual music and drop some more of it, it won't really benefit him to entertain that if he's not completely dedicated to it. Just take a look at the contrast between where he was a couple months ago and now, because right now, NLE Choppa's dropping some of the best music I've heard from him in a while. He dropped this record called Final Warning, which, I mean, this is probably one of the best songs I've heard from him in a while, probably since Walk 'Em Down. It is amazing. This song actually entered the Billboard Hot 100 as well, so people are loving it, and that old NLE Choppa energy is clearly back. Although Bryson was a really good record, overall you can't tell me that the spiritual stuff he's dropped is better than what he's dropping right now. I think that content satisfies a very small portion of his fan base, which again, this is why it was a risky move for him to do a 180. The real Choppa though, him being back to himself, is what's gonna really push his entire way forward. NLE Choppa is a guy who really embodies that new generation sound, so he is at the forefront of this whole wave. It's gonna create a lot of problems for him though if he keeps on dipping his foot in the water, as in goes back to the spiritual music, gives people the real NLE back again, etc. Building up momentum as a young rapper in this generation, it's hard, man. It's definitely not easy. You literally need to drop the right record at the right time, follow that up with something that's gonna match up with the previous record, keep your foot on the gas, drop another record that's gonna feed off of the hype from the last one, and that's how you get this thing called a run. You know, he's on a crazy run. The start of NLE's run was that beatbox remix he did that's still doing crazy numbers on YouTube. He dropped that one right after he got released as a first day out record, so capitalizing on that whole arrest was obviously a very smart move. The song did fairly well, so he made sure to follow up that beatbox. By the way, I love that song, hype up with another heavy hitter. Here we are today though, and NLE Choppa is back to himself. At the moment, he got a little momentum going for himself, and that could obviously spiral into something way bigger and greater, and this is obviously as a result of him going back to himself, you know, just leaving that spiritual talk out of the music. So NLE Choppa is back to himself, man. Personally, I'm not surprised about that, but hey, maybe you are. But yeah, NLE Choppa, the top Choppa, is back to himself. Spiritual Chop could obviously come back, but would that really be a smart move considering the momentum he has with that Choppa flow sound, aka himself? That's something I want you to give me your thoughts on. So yeah, definitely let me know in the comment section below. Let's have a discussion about this.